have any Dragon Ball hot takes? Are they wild, or do they actually make some sense? Do people agree with you, or do they tell you to never cook again? How about we dive into some of the best, as well as some of the worst Dragon Ball hot takes this fandom has to offer? We'll try to break them down, see if they're justified, or just plain crazy, and we'll rank them based on how interesting or valid they are. For example, one of the most important takes and memes about Dragon Ball is that Goku is not a good father. Fans claim that Goku is a horrible father, and that Piccolo is Gohan's true father figure. And while there may be some truth to that, let me tell you that Goku is not only a good father, he is just as good of a father figure as Piccolo, if not even better. Just like how Piccolo sacrificed himself to protect Gohan, Goku did the same while fighting Raditz. Gohan was just 4 years old when this happened. Now, do you remember how he spent the first 4 years of his life? With Goku. After Goku won the tournament and married Chi-Chi, he did nothing but spend time with his family. He didn't even force Gohan to train. This is the reason why Gohan grew up to be such a gentle little kid. Goku raised him with nothing but love and care. Unfortunately, Raditz's appearance changed everything because it led to one conflict after another, and Goku spent more years dead than alive. But he still spent some quality time with Gohan, especially in the hyperbolic time chamber. I mean, has your dad ever told you that he is proud of you? I'd say Goku is a good father. Yes, he could have been a better father to Goten if he didn't spend those 7 years in the afterlife, but with all things considered, he is a good father. That's why I'm gonna have to disagree with this take and give it an E. Now, we'll be giving each hot take a ranking, with A being a hot take we agree a lot with, B somewhat agree with, C debatable, D somewhat disagree, and E being a hot take we completely disagree with. Now guys, before we continue, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let's keep going. With that said, moving on to the next hot take, let's talk about how Goku giving Cell the Senzu Bean makes sense. This is connected to the last hot take, because this is the example people bring up when talking about how Goku is a horrible father, but you have to keep in mind that the decision was made with pure intentions. Goku genuinely believed that Gohan was ready to take on Cell, and even hoped that Gohan would enjoy the challenge. You can argue that his choice was flawed, but it came from a place of trust and belief in his son's abilities. There's a reason why Goku himself realized that he may have made a mistake. This is why Goku giving Cell a Senzu Bean makes sense. It is completely in line with his personal nature and what he thinks of his son. But again, it was a flawed decision, so I'll be giving this hot take a B instead of an A. Boo's Saga Vegito is not weaker than Super Saiyan God Goku. Yes, Goku said that even fusing with Vegito wouldn't be enough to beat Beerus, but that doesn't mean Vegito is weaker than Super Saiyan God Goku, especially when you consider hindsight. Beerus has been further power creeped, while Super Saiyan God is no longer as impressive as it once was. Super Saiyan Vegito, especially Super Saiyan 2 Vegito, may very well be on par with Super Saiyan God Goku. What do you think? Which rank should we give to this hot take? I would say C, but unfortunately, while it's not completely far-fetched, we have to remember that Super Saiyan God was born thanks to the exponential multiplication of 6 Saiyans, not just 2. Super Saiyan God is probably stronger than Super Saiyan 2 Vegito, but for the time being, there's no definitive way to find out. What do you think? Is Buu Saga Vegito weaker than Super Saiyan God Goku or not? Let us know in the comments down below. Piccolo deserved to stay relevant. Okay, hear me out on this one. After the Cell Saga, Piccolo became more of a babysitter than a fighter, right? His strategic mind and unique techniques deserved more spotlight in major battles, and this is why I think this take makes perfect sense. I will give it an A. Dragon Ball should have ended after Z. Okay, now that's a tricky one, so let's talk about it. I get that Dragon Ball GT was a letdown for many fans, but nonetheless, it still remains additional content for a series we grew up with and loved. You can very easily not watch it if you don't want to, and when it comes to Dragon Ball Super, and even Dragon Ball Daima, I will argue that they are very interesting and fun to follow. I give this take an E. Krillin is the most relatable character. Spoiler alert, I agree with this take. He's the true underdog who knows his limits, but still fights for his friends. He's not a part of any special race, doesn't have any fancy transformations, just pure hard work and determination. The guy was competing with Goku when he was a kid, and yeah, I know Goku was stronger than him, but still, competing with a Saiyan that was sent to destroy your planet does show something if you ask me. Plus, he's married to Android 18, proving he's winning in life. I give this take an A. The Saiyan race isn't that interesting. Boring. Fans of this take go on to claim that Saiyans are iconic, but the constant focus on them overshadows other fascinating races like the Namekians, Frieza's species, and the Kais. Okay, so whoever came up with this topic, please don't cook again. Saiyans are interesting, whether they overshadow other races or not. Like, they're a race of warriors born to fight. What's more interesting than that? I give this take an E. Broly was better as a mindless villain. Fans of this take say that, yeah, while the Dragon Ball Super Broly reboot gave him more depth, old school legendary Super Saiyan Broly was an unstoppable primal force of nature. Simple, but terrifying. Okay, now this is indeed tricky, because the way I see it, this is basically a matter of of opinion. So go ahead and let us know what you think. Should Broly have stayed a mindless villain, or is the reboot version better? Let us know down in the comments. But hey, on my end, I would have to give this one a C, simply because there's no right or wrong answer here. Tien is the most underrated Z fighter. Well, I'm not sure if he's the most underrated, but I'll definitely agree that he is indeed really underrated. Tien might not be a Saiyan, but his work ethic, creativity, and willingness to fight despite overwhelming odds deserves more love. So overall, I would have to give this take a B. Yamcha deserves a comeback. I agree, and here's why. Yamcha's early Dragon Ball days showed he was capable and confident. Instead of being the butt of jokes, he could have been reinvented as a proper martial arts master. I will give this take a B. Dragon Ball storytelling was better before Z. Now that's a hot take which many might kinda disagree with, but on my end, I would have to somewhat agree. The original Dragon Ball focused more on adventure, humor, and character dynamics. Once Z kicked off, it became overly focused on power-ups and endless battles. Now don't get me wrong, both are enjoyable and interesting in their own way, and no matter which of the two you prefer, your opinion's valid. But when it comes to strictly storytelling, I think this take is kinda true. I will give this take a B. Dragon Ball's comedy is better than its fights. Now what I'll say is that surely the comedy is great, but so are those fights. So which of the two is better? Supporters of this take claim that Akira Toriyama's humor is one of the franchise's strongest elements. The funniest moments, like Roshi's antics or Goku's naivety, are often more memorable than overly drawn-out battles. Well, yes and no. There are many funny moments that are memorable, but please tell me that Goku going Super Saiyan for the first time or going Ultra Instinct for the first time are not iconic. Like, they're literally some of the most known moments in fiction, not just anime. So I would say that while Dragon Ball's comedy is top tier, I would not go so far as to say that it's better than the fights we witnessed in the series. But at the end of the day, I suppose this is a matter of opinion, so it'll just be a C. Moving on, Beerus' strength is a major retcon. It makes no sense that Goku and Vegeta are still so much weaker than him even after Super Saiyan Blue. Heck, even after Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego. In fact, most of us have already made peace with how even Black Frieza is going to turn out to be weaker than Beerus. Guys, Black Frieza one-shotted Ultra Instinct Goku and Ultra Ego Vegeta, and he's still gonna be weaker than Beerus. How does that make sense? So yes, Beerus' strength is a retcon, but how big of a retcon is it? I'd give this hot take a C, because power scaling in Dragon Ball isn't black and white. If Broly can go from being weaker than base Vegeta to stronger than both Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, then there's no reason to believe that Beerus can't grow stronger in real time. But it's still a retcon, especially after Goku said that Broly is stronger than Beerus. That's why this hot take is a C. And if we're talking about growth, here's another one. Beast Gohan is the worst power-up in Dragon Ball. Okay, let's talk about it. Supporters of this take claim that what makes it so bad is that it implies that he is now even stronger than Goku and Vegeta. And that is insane. How is Gohan stronger than Goku and Vegeta when he's been sitting in the library all this time? Black Frieza makes sense because Frieza trained for 10 years, but Gohan's beast transformation is just a cheap way to get him back in power scaling discussions. Alright, this kinda makes sense when you put it that way. But really? The worst power-up? I'll give this hot take a C, because even though it opens up a can of narrative inconsistencies and power scaling disasters, it does look cool. Even Orange Piccolo is an exponentially better transformation as far as the narrative itself is concerned, but I wouldn't say Beast Gohan is the worst one. And since we just mentioned Gohan, let's get another hot take out of the way. Gohan is not wasted potential. Trunks and Goten are wasted potential. Spoiler alert, I agree. This is the thing. Even though Beast Gohan is the worst transformation yet, it still makes it clear that Gohan is relevant. But what about Goten and Trunks? They always have to fuse, and they still end up getting the fodder treatment. They weren't even allowed to participate in the Tournament of Power, even though Gohan was fighting Cell when he was around their age. I'll give this hot take an A too, because it's straight facts. Up next, we have Ultra Ego. The streets say it's a bad transformation because it reduces Vegeta to just a glorified punching bag, and even after unlocking Ultra Ego, Vegeta still hasn't gotten any W's. That has to suck, right? It's a good point, yes, but the problem people have with Ultra Ego isn't about the transformation itself. It's about the way Vegeta's character is treated. The transformation is all right. It highlights Vegeta's primal nature and looks cool even without the eyebrows. I'd give this hot take a C, because Vegeta's Ultra Ego is not bad itself. It's the way his character is treated that may have made it as bad by some people. And this brings us to the next hot take. Vegeta should have been the one to defeat Frieza in Resurrection F. I'm not even sure if this is a hot take, because even Goku fans understand that it's important to give Vegeta at least one W against Frieza. But no, the closest we ever got was when Vegeta defeated Frost. But that's not the same thing, is it? This hot take deserves a B, I think. Moving on, Raditz is not a fraud. All Dragon Ball fans from all over the world talk trash about him because he's Cyberman tier. and Cyberman is just a plant. The thing is, Raditz's purpose was to introduce the brutal nature of Goku's race, and he did that fantastically. I'd say this hot take comes from a place of good faith, but I'll still have to give it a D because the fact that Nappa and Vegeta had plants that were as strong as Raditz is actually kinda crazy. Z Broly is a more fun character than Super Broly. He's a pure menace, a Saiyan through and through. It makes sense why someone like him is the legendary Super Saiyan, and the contrast between his timid personality in comparison to his berserker state is rather surreal. But is he better than Super Broly? I mean, you see, Super Broly is an actual character. His backstory makes sense, and unlike the Z Broly's reason for hating Goku, Super Broly's reason for hating Vegeta also makes more sense, because he was an obedient son. Plus, as the story continues, Broly has started to get even more characterization. This is why I'm gonna disagree with this hot take and give it a D. Moving on, Gogeta is simply better than Vegito. So many fans claim that Vegito is stronger because he's the result of the Potara fusion, but let me stop you right there, because a fusion is still a fusion, and the two of them are equal. But wait, if they are equal, then why is Gogeta better? Well, it's because Gogeta knows how to get the job done. He knows that he only has 30 minutes, and that's why he gets to it right away. He defeated Janemba, and then during the Broly movie, he was bold enough to actually try to kill Broly. Vegito, on the other hand, takes his time. Not because he's exceedingly cocky, but because whenever we saw Vegito, he was unaware of how long the fusion was going to last. Against Buon, he thought the fusion was permanent, and against Zamasu, he thought it'd last 1 hour, but it ended prematurely. Honestly, I'd give this a B because both fusions are practically the same. Yes, there is some truth to how Gogeta actually wins, which is why I didn't give this hot take a C. But overall, with all things considered, the real reason why Gogeta has wins is not because it's Gogeta, but it's because Gogeta normally appears in movies. The one time he appeared in a proper anime arc was in GT, but hey, he acted exactly like Vegito in the fight against Omega Shenron, which means it's not the fusion. It's about the story arc where it takes place. Moving on, the manga does Future Trunks Saga better than the anime. All of us know that the manga and anime versions of Dragon Ball Super are two different stories, where some parts are better in the manga, while the others are better in the anime. But you see, when it comes to the Future Trunks Saga, the anime version is a legitimate downgrade of the story. While the manga consistently maintains the same quality, the anime version is all over the place. This one is an A. I agree with this hot take. The manga version of the Future Trunks Saga is much better. Kid Buu is the strongest Buu. This is a real thing that many Dragon Ball fans believe, but it's simply not true, at least the way I see it. In fact, Kid Buu is actually Buu's second weakest form. It's stronger than Good Buu, but weaker than Super Buu, Buu-Tanks, and Buhan. Gohan and Gotenks could have very easily defeated Kid Buu. Now, how did this become a hot take in the first place? Well, it's because the anime adds a line that calls Kid Buu the original strongest Buu. This is why anime fans recall him as the strongest Buu. I'd say we should give this a D, because the fault lies not just with the take itself, but also with the anime's wrong interpretation of Kid Buu's strength. The next hot take is about how Goku and the others should somehow lose God Ki. Forget about everything that happens in Super, and the events of GT will still happen. This is a horrible take, and GT fans should just accept that GT is not canon. Let's put some respect in Toriyama's work and go with what he stated was canon. This hot take gets a D. Moving on, Buu is a better villain than Cell. This take has some merit to it. Buu is the literal incarnation of evil itself. He's childish, chaotic, and ruthlessly unpredictable. That really sets him apart in comparison to pretty much every other dragon antagonist, be it Frieza, Cell, Beerus, Hit, Zamasu, Jiren, Moro, whatever. Buu is just insane, and the idea that he's been around since the inception of time itself makes his aura even more intense. But is he a better villain than Cell? The thing is, comparing Buu to Cell is not fair. Cell played his role just as well as Buu. He went from imperfect to semi-perfect to perfect, with some pretty interesting changes in his personality, and the way he started fumbling around after getting outdone by Gohan was some brilliant characterization. This means that the question about which one is a better villain is subjective, and that's why I'll have to give this hot take a C, because it's debatable. Next, let's talk about how Jiren is a poorly written character. When you compare him to the likes of Frieza, Cell, Buu, Beerus, and Zamasu, it's easy to see why anyone would call him an awful antagonist. He's just bland, lame, and boring. But if you think of Jiren's character as a foil to Goku's character, it suddenly starts making more sense why the story put him as the main antagonist of the Tournament of Power. You see, Jiren lacks true friends due to his tragic past, where his comrades abandoned him after his family was killed. This made him obsess over strength and mistrust. Of course, Goku is equally obsessed with strength, but he makes friends at every turn. Both are the strongest of their respective universes, but their perspective on friends and allies is completely different. While Jiren holds grudges and doesn't trust anyone, Goku is so carefree that he even recruited Frieza. So yes, while Jiren is a simple character, he's not a poorly written character character from a critical point of view. But again, he may have been too simple. This is why I'll be giving this one a D. Jiren's a good character, but maybe not the best antagonist. At least, not the most loved one by many. Next up, Dragon Ball filler episodes are peak. It doesn't matter if it's the OG Dragon Ball Z, or Dragon Ball Super. This anime always cooks with filler episodes. Do note that we're not talking about filler scenes like calling Kid Buu the strongest. We're talking about independent filler episodes, like the one where Goku and Piccolo learn how to drive, or the one where Beerus fights Arale-chan. The anime is full of examples of filler episodes done right, which is kinda surreal because most other shonen get hate and dislike for filler content. I'd give this an A. Moving on, the retcon of Beerus being the one who told Frieza to kill the Saiyans makes zero sense, and it destroys the entire plot point about how Frieza was afraid of Saiyans. Honestly, this is a completely fair take. There was no reason for the story to retcon Frieza's decision to destroy planet Vegeta and kill the Saiyans. The more you think about it, the worse it gets, and it also makes it clear that Dragon Ball Super should be more careful when retconning important stuff. I'll give this hot take an A, because let's be real guys, this retcon downplays the characters of both Beerus and Frieza at the same time. Next, the Moro Arc is the best Dragon Ball saga of all time. Between Vegeta training on Yardrat to learn Spirit Fission, Goku training with Beerus to master Ultra Instinct, Vegeta's development, Moro's sacrifice, Gohan's fight with 7-3, the Grand Supreme Kai's role, Oob's involvement, Yamcha finally getting a W, the Ultra Instinct showdown, and of course, Moro himself as the most interesting antagonist of Dragon Ball Super. There is just so much that this arc has to offer, and you bet it's gonna be surreal when the anime finally gets around to animating it. But wait, is it the best Dragon Ball saga of all time? I'd say it's definitely the best saga of Dragon Ball Super, but not the best Dragon Ball saga of all time. But it's good enough that if it's the best in your mind, I certainly wouldn't hold it against you. So with that in mind, let's give this one a C, because at the end of the day, it is indeed debatable. Our next hot take is about how Yamcha is actually as cool as it gets. I mean, hear me out. It's no secret that the Yamcha slander is stronger than Goku himself. You'll even see other anime and manga slandering him all the time. But is the slander fair? Should we be memeing and thrashing this wonderful character all the time? No, it's not fair, because while Yamcha may be weak, he's still cool as hell. There are so many little moments that'd make you appreciate Yamcha. Like, remember when Krillin is about to fight in the martial arts tournament and Yamcha is taking care of Marin? Marin wonders if her dad would be alright, and Yamcha tells her that her dad is the strongest in the world. And also, we know that Trunks' image of his father was shattered when he met Vegeta because Vegeta was cold and distant. Heck, Vegeta would beat him sometimes. This naturally broke Trunks' heart because his mother would always tell him the good things about Vegeta. But you know what? After Trunks is revived, Yamcha makes sure to tell Trunks exactly how Vegeta reacted when he died. He made sure to tell Trunks the one thing that Trunks must have wanted to hear the most. This is what makes Yamcha so cool. He's a good, friendly lad who never strokes his own ego and always supports his friends however he can. He may be the weakest, but his heart and maturity are made out of pure gold. So yes, I'll agree with this hot take. Yamcha's not a meme. He's cool, and he deserves at least a B. Now, our final hot take is about how Cabba beat Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Should we make an exception for this hot take and straight up give it an F? Because how the heck does anyone seriously believe Cabba can beat Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta? I mean, this is not some obscure hot take. You could just Google Cabba versus Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and see for yourself how much of a meme this has become. The idea comes from the fact that the power scaling feats in Dragon Ball Super are much more absurd than GT, which is why some fans started arguing over whether Cabba could actually beat Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. As you could expect, the answer is no. Cabba can't beat Buu Saga Vegito. In fact, he can't even beat Buu Saga Gohan. How the hell is he supposed to beat Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta? This one is an E, but you might as well consider it an F, considering how insane of a hot take this one is. Click on this video next, where we rank as well as explain the top 30 strongest races in Dragon Ball. Go on, check it out!